Good afternoon, Net Worth Nation. Ron G, aka your consult. Want to talk to you today about the top three. That's right, top three reasons why all middle class Americans absolutely 100% should have IULs in their financial portfolios. Now, before we get started, you probably want to say, what the heck is an IUL, Ron G? An IUL is an index universal life insurance policy. So yes, I'm talking about life insurance, but it's not ordinary life insurance. Now, if you're anyone like myself, when I first kind of was aware of what the life insurance product was all about, I learned about like term life products and whole life and stuff like that, but I really didn't know what it was, to be honest with you. So to simplify that answer, we knew term life would protect a person for an extended period of time or a certain period of time. So you may say real quick, and if you don't know, I do have videos on YouTube that you can watch, but for the sake of this video, I will keep this moving. So for term life products, I will put the link below on the video I did a while back that broke down term life and whole life. But for the sake of this video, term life is a protection of a certain period of time. So who would take a term life policy? Something like a young family, right? Young family just starting out, that obviously can't afford to lose a husband or wife's income. Now, what does that mean? That means in the modern era, meaning the 20th to 21st century, unlike when my mom and my grandmother were little ones, most families have to have what we call two incomes, unless you have some people who are about that life and they're in the work field where they make the equivalent of two people's income. Those people do exist, believe it or not. But for the most part, the average person who I want to uplift and build up on this channel needs two incomes. And so in the process of two incomes, you have to have protection against one of those income losses. So that's when someone would get a term, maybe 20 years, 25 years of that period of life to protect that person. A whole life policy is just what it says. It protects someone for the entire lifetime of that person's existence on the planet Earth. That's why they call it a whole life policy. So again, you may say, well, why would someone buy a term life? I hope I explained that, simplified it. Why would somebody buy a whole life? Well, again, that whole life policy is really more concerned about the legacy of the person or persons that you leave behind. That is someone who's thinking about the well-being of their family. That's all the type of people who buy what they call whole life policies, because whole life policies have a strong tendency to create cash value, and usually it's a stronger buildup of capital that you want to leave behind. So that's the short story. So again, why should middle class America absolutely have the IUL? It's because, unfortunately, middle class Americans are more likely to use credit when they get into a jam. They are more likely to use credit when they get into a jam. Credit is the absolute trick bag, as I call it, of financial cash flow, meaning that credit makes you think that you have more money than you really have, because it gives you access to money technically that you don't have. Now, before I get into bashing credit, because I'm not, and you've probably heard other videos that I've done on the Net Worth Nation channel talking about the usage of other people's money and where that's valuable, I'm going to say that for the record, I'm talking about people who do not use credit to build, that are not using credit to level up a business or level them up strategically so that they can get ahead and then potentially now pay the credit back and have that resource down the line. I'm talking about people who have fell in the trap of using credit extensively because they believe that that's money there for them to use and they can just use it whenever they want. And that's unfortunately what's led to my main reason of mentioning credit, is that most of us in the middle class American society are beat down with credit card debt, absolutely beat to a pulp with credit card debt. And so that's one of the main reasons why you want to have an IUL. The second primary reason that you want to have an IUL is because most people in the middle class market are utilizing 401ks. Most people are utilizing a 401k or some form of a fidelity or some form of a stock market product. And fortunately, that's good because you have an investment mindset. The downside to that is that unfortunately, those markets are a lot more volatile, meaning that if you potentially start to lose in those places and spaces, unfortunately, you will end up losing more than you gain. What do I mean by that? I mean that the money that you're putting into that market, even if it's your boss, let's say your company's matching 3%, 4%, 5%, doesn't matter. The money that's going in there has a very high potential to be lost because, again, it is a market that goes up and it goes down. And so, again, more people that are using that as a place to go get quick cash when they get into a jam are not able to do that. Another main reason why you can't do that is if you've ever tried to get money out of a 401k, it has to be only specific incidents and when it can happen. And those specific incidents are usually surrounding a major life-changing event, such as a death, the buying of your first home, of course, and a couple of other things. But it's very challenging to get the money out of a 401k type of product of some sort. Now, an insurance, if you're in the market, which most middle-class people dibble and dabble in, they're not really in it like that, deep in it like that. They realize that a lot of that money is here today and it potentially could be gone tomorrow. So that's the second reason why you would want to get an IUL. The IUL product is a lot more strategic and it has a lot more checks and balances built into the product to protect an average investor like ourselves from messing around and blowing their income. Why do I say that? Because, again, the insurance product itself is still relevant in the process of purchasing the income IUL, Index Universal Life product. Index Universal Life product that you purchase is still backed by the insurance. So what do I mean by that? If you bought a policy that was worth $100,000 or $200,000, that $100,000, $200,000 policy still holds its value as long as you pay the premiums. Now, again, I said as long as you pay the premiums. But what's the difference? I could say that about your 401k. As long as you put money in your 401k, when your boss takes it out of your check, your payroll department takes it out of your check every 2 weeks, as long as you keep paying, right, the money is going to be in there. Now, the money will sit there if you stop paying it. But again, of course, like market volatility, exactly, it can be lost. So that's the second primary reason, is that there's a lot more protection in the Index Universal Life. And the number one reason why I go this route is that most people in middle America, if they get sick, if there's a sudden loss of life, if there's a sudden crippling injury, most people in middle America are going to put up a GoFundMe account. That's what most people are going to do. Why? Because they don't have nowhere else to get the money. I'm going to say that one more time. They have to put up a GoFundMe account because they don't have anywhere else they can get the money. Because if they're getting the money from what we just talked about, from credit, their credit is strapped. If they're trying to get the money out of the 401k or some kind of an investment product, usually by the time you go to get that money, that investment product is usually beat up, is banged up, is roughed up, and it's not a whole lot of money there to be got. However, in the GoFundMe, now you're at the mercy and the prayer of hoping that people cared enough about you in your place of work to put this money together, that you are part of a very solid ministry. Because a lot of us are in ministries, let's face it, it's just showtime at the Apollo. When something really happens, how many people can really go to their churches or their organizations and get money to really sustain them in case of a major medical problem? So those are my top 3 reasons why I recommend the Index Universal Life products. Ranji, your console, aka the Net Worth Nation. Peace. Let's talk soon.